some people get involved in horrendous accidents where the car is totally squashed in. I mean, and you wonder how they got out physically, period, and they're okay. And other people have what looks like a relatively minor accident and die.
Mm-hmm.
What's your comment about that?
You know, once again, I'm going to turn to the tendency we have that is really very primitive to want a logical, reasonable God that says, you know, we will on the one hand believe that someone will say to me, my child's an old soul, and then say, how could such a young child die? Well, you can't have both. Either it's an old soul or a young child. Now, which is it? We have this idea that the old should die, although we don't want them too old because then they're too expensive. But we want to live old, but we don't want them too old because then we have to build buildings for them and shove them away, but then they're expensive and who's going to take it? But anyway, so we have this idea that everything should be logically explained, and here are the two words that get us in trouble: deserve and blame. They don't deserve this. They've been good people. As if somehow the cosmos should follow this plan, that if you haven't done anything wrong, nothing bad should happen to you. Somehow that Hammurabi's code of an eye for an eye is so in our groin, it's in our reptilian brain, that is the way we've structured our entire life. If I haven't done anything wrong, how could God send me the trials of Job? Well, the fact is, life is a much larger journey than you, and your particular struggles are not what this world is wrapped around. And what happens to one person is, if you maintain an idea that, first of all, this second, almost childlike notion that if something is painful, it's therefore bad. The other very childlike scale is, in order, we measure everything by whether it's painless. If it's painless, it's good. If there's pain involved, it's horrid. When in fact, if you look at something like this, one gentleman I know has the most brilliant description of the dark night of the soul, in which an addict who is forced to quit drinking, for him, giving up drinking is the most painful thing in the world. For everybody else, and he enters a dark night, like a long dark tunnel. For everybody else, they know that that's not a dark night. It's the beginning of the light. But for that addict, for that alcoholic, it's the beginning of suffering. But it's a very wonderful pain, especially for everybody else who has been caused nothing but pain by that person's drinking or by that person's drug habit. If that person can hang on through that pain, there's a resurrection at the end of that dark night. So not all pain is suffering. So to have that idea that as soon as you're in pain, it's unfair, as soon as something happens, shows a very myopic point of view that says, and it also shows an idea that right here, that everything's judged by what's happening in this immediate day, in this immediate now, without a capacity to imagine that there is a greater tapestry of your life, and that this event may be required for something that's happening or going to happen a year from now or 5 years from now, and that this event is a necessity that's laying the groundwork for events yet to come, and that this is where free will and choice come in, and that free will is about your response to events like this, because this is how grace works. In each event, in an instant, if you were to hold still and pray, you would instantaneously feel a sense of this is going to be all right, you're going to get through this, you will get through this, even in a micro, no matter how horrific, there'd be a microchip of that you would feel. Most people will reject that microchip because if the event is too horrific, and yet their soul feels it. That is what I would call free will. The recognition that you had that microchip and you said no to it. That's free will.